Hi, my name's Dr. Rachel Corman. I'm the feline specialist at Veterinary Specialist Services, and this is a short video just to demonstrate to you how to give your cat subcutaneous fluids at home. This is something that we might have recommended to you if your cat has chronic kidney disease and is prone to becoming dehydrated. We'll provide you with all of the necessary items that you need to provide this treatment at home. And generally it's something that is really easy to do and really well tolerated by most patients. We'll give you all of the necessary materials that you need to provide this treatment at home. And generally it's very well tolerated by the majority of patients, but there's certainly little tips that we can give you that will just increase the success and the smoothness of this at home. The first thing is to have everything set up that you need. So you'll need your bag of fluids. You'll need a giving set, and you'll need a needle. So firstly, we remove the plastic outer bag from our fluids. Sometimes these will be smaller bags. This is a 1 litre bag. And the area where you'll be putting the giving set in is this blue tag here. So holding the bag upside down, you just twist and remove. We're now finished with that portion. Next, we take our giving set. Open the packaging. Remove this little piece of paper that holds everything together and just unravel all of the tubing here. Now, the first part that we need is this little chamber here with the white spiky section on the top. And there's a plastic lid here that we remove, and it's important not to touch this white spike here. At the moment, this white spike is sterile, which means that it's very, very clean. And we don't want to touch that and contaminate that because that might increase the risk of infection for your cat. What we do next is we have to put the spike into the blue section of the bag here. So pushing it in, and I find it easiest to push and twist. There we go. Until you find that the blue section can't move any further down that white spike. Now, the next step is we have this little roller ball on here, and this will just help to control your flow. So when it's at the top here, it's open and the fluid can flow through the tubing. When it's pushed down the bottom or rolled down the bottom here, you can see that it's now causing an obstruction there and the fluid won't flow. So tipping this upside down, you can now see that you've got some fluid in the chamber, but it can't run down the tubing yet until we're ready. So our next step now is to fill the tubing with fluid. And this system is gravity fed, so we need to hang this bag up high. So you might want to have a little hook ready, or alternatively you could just lie the bag on a shelf. We then remove the cap from this end and then take our needle, open up the packaging and just push the needle onto the connector here. Now, it's important to remember that this little area as well, it's another one of those sterile sections. So it's good to try and make sure that you don't touch this portion, just to help keep it clean. There's a little screw-on section here. It's not that important, but just to help make the system that much more secure, you can screw that down. Next, we take our roller ball here and we just roll that up, and what you'll see is fluid is now running through the fluid line and coming out your syringe like so. So now we switch that off, and what that's done is that's just flushed all the air through the tubing so that we're not injecting air into the cat. At the end of the day, if you do inject a couple of little air bubbles under the skin, it's not that big a problem. That will just get absorbed. So now you're ready to give the fluids to your patient. Some things that can make cats much more tolerant of having this process done is if you warm the fluids up to body temperature beforehand. So you can do that by either leaving the fluids out so that they warm up to environmental temperature, or alternatively putting them into a fluid bath so that they can warm up to body temperature. But again, just make sure that they're not getting too hot when you've warmed them using that method. So next, we're ready for our patient. Our model for this today is Pico. And what we do is that we're aiming to inject the fluid under the flabby skin here at the back of the neck. Now, once you're used to doing this technique, you can do other locations if you've got a patient that's tolerant of them. So you'll find a system that works best for you and your cat. Now, Pico and I are going to be giving him his fluids up on the table here, but you might find that it's actually easiest to do it with the cat sitting on your lap. So you'll be able to find a way that works for you and your cat at home. Okay, so what we're doing now, I find it easier to have the cats facing away from me. There we go. And then we take the cap off our needle, making sure that we use a clean needle every time. I then pull the skin up at the back of his neck, and we're just gently inserting the needle under the skin at the back of his neck. We're not pushing down like that, just parallel to his back. So injecting under his skin at the back there, and then I'm right-handed, so I use my thumb and my middle finger to hold the tubing in place, and I actually just keep my index finger over the top of roughly where the needle is sitting, just so I can keep sort of giving him a pat here and just feeling that area at the back. Next, we open the roller ball to allow the fluid to run through the system. And what you can see here is the drips running through the chamber. So it's important to keep an eye on that, just to make sure that the drips are flowing through. If you're not seeing any dripping, then it means for some reason the system is blocked, and it might be that you can just simply move your needle backwards a little bit and just redirect your needle from one side to the other, and just see if that helps you to get those drips flowing again. Good boy, mate. Now, generally we will inject anywhere from 50 to 100 mils, and we might do that 2 to 3 times per week, depending on the patient. So we'll always provide you with that information. The way that we determine how much fluid is given, it's a little bit rough and it's a little bit of a guide, but what you can see are these little markers on the bag here. Good boy. These little markers on the bag here that drop down in 100. So if we go from 200 down to 300, then that'll roughly be 100 mils for the patient. Once our patients have received their subcutaneous fluids, they'll generally have a big jelly wobble where the fluid has moved under the skin. And that's something that will reabsorb over the next couple of hours. It will often move down the sides of the cats and sort of sit underneath their belly. So don't worry at all if you see that. And then once the cats have had their fluids, it's really important to make sure that they have a little bit of their favourite treat, if they like treats, or even just lots more cuddles and pats, if that's what they prefer. So overall, this is a treatment that can be really, really helpful in the long-term management of cats, particularly cats with chronic kidney disease. And the vast majority of cats will find this a very, very tolerable process once they're used to it. You'll find more information on these different treatments available on our website, but please don't hesitate to contact us anytime at the hospital if you have any further questions.